we suspect it will be nothing good for America for the first time in our lives to default on our debt. Now, we owe $16.4 trillion. That's too much. We're building up another $1 trillion this year. That's too much. But you've got to deal with how you fix it in a bipartisan way. And we got the taxes out of the way. Let's deal with the spending cuts. And let's deal with it where the big money is in the entitlements. Say to people like me, I'm on Social Security. When the original Medicare bill was passed, I was supposed to pay 50%. I'm only paying 37% today. Any of your neighbors don't say, why not ask us to pay a little bit more? I was in favor of increasing the retirement age on Social Security in 1986 to 70. In 2016. Give us plenty of time to adjust to it. It would do wonders for the fiscal side. Now, you didn't want to hear me talk about that. What you want to hear me talk about is the farm program and what all this means to that. And I repeat, if we don't deal with our fiscal matters, there will be no farm program. And we will have some disruption of your business. Who knows what interest rates are going to be? They cannot stay at 0.25% or less than 1% interest. Cannot stay there. The market will not let them. All of you believe in the marketplace. Many of us who get elected tend to forget that we're in a marketplace. We're in a world marketplace in agriculture, whether you like it or not. And I found that even my constituents, farmers, they love the world marketplace as long as we're exporting to the world, but when we have to have competition coming in, they don't think too much of imports. Well, it's got to be both ways. The world marketplace is where we are, and it's the only way the world is going to survive and is going to deal with the 2 billion more people and how they're going to be fed in 2050. We've already heard this today. You've heard it so many times. You believe it. You're part of an industry that recognizes it. Technology. The only way that people can be fed is through technology. Biotechnology. Genetically modifying the plants that use the product that you provide in order to increase the production of the plant that we breed into it. That's just common sense. One of the problems we've got if we don't deal with the budget, we're going to have less money for research in agriculture. That's one of the alarming trends for me. When you look at the budget debates going on today, ag research is heading this way, defense is going this way, healthcare is going way this way, and every other component is getting increased. But we as a nation have tended to forget what caused us to become the best fed nation in the world. It was research and technology and learning to grow 2 blades of grass where one grew before. And we're never going to have the pressure on us as an industry that we're going to see over the next 10, 15, 20 years. Will our political system allow us to meet the challenges that are going to be ahead of us? That's a legitimate question that bothers me a tremendous amount. We have a dysfunctional Congress today. And you, by what you answer polls, say that you only think they're doing 8% support. And last week, I'm still a former member, and I kind of shudder when you know, cockroaches have got a better rating than I've got as a former member of Congress or a member of Congress. That bothers me. It reminds me of a little story I told when I was first elected about that's what a Southern congressman told it to me, and I started repeating it back home. I said, you know, you get elected to Congress, you're important, you're smart, and you feel like that you've got all the answers. But really and truly, if you vision yourself on the banks of the great Mississippi, back when it had water, and you imagine a big log floating down the river with 1,000 cockroaches sitting up on top of that log, each one thinking they're steering. And I did that, and my wife said, I don't like that. You're comparing. I'm married to a cockroach. So I quit using that story. That's not a good story to be used. But that's kind of the way it is in Congress. You can elect, and you re-elected the Congress that 92% of you think are lousy. Now, you think your congressman or woman was good. But how many of you have met your congressman or woman? Quick show of hands. 1, 2, 3, 4. That's good. A little better than this morning. How many of you have met their staff? At least one. Good. You're into it. Here again, never get upset at your congressman or woman if they are not able to meet with you, so long as you meet with the staff. If you've got something that you want to share with your congressman, the staff is the most important person. I say that because that's just the way it works. A member does not have the time to meet with everyone in this endeavor. I had an open door policy because I had a good staff. But don't never get upset. But at least make the effort to have your congressman or woman understand what it is you want them to do. How many of you have contacted your congressman or woman, encouraged what they should do regarding the fiscal debt? Okay? Don't have to show hands on everything right here. But if you have, feel good about yourself. Pat yourself on the back. If you haven't, think about it. After I get through today, call your congressman or woman and tell them you heard this crazy Texan. Don't do what he suggests. Ignore those committees, but do it this other. But at least do something and say something. Now, what's he got to do with agriculture? Everything. Here's what I hope happens. I hope that they will find a way to increase the debt ceiling, and they can do it for 3 months, 6 months. Since I was elected in 1978, I believe we've increased the debt ceiling about 69 times. And I believe I voted on it about 60. Now, it's really a no-brainer because all they're doing is voting to pay for that which we've already spent. Understand that? It's kind of like the credit card in your pocket. You've already spent it, you've got the bill, they won't increase your limit unless you pay something on it. That's what we're talking about. But it's not too much for my Republican friends, the majority in the House, to say we need an agreement on how we're going to cut spending in the future so we don't get to the next debt ceiling too quick. That's reasonable. So don't default on our debt, but use the next clause. There's 2 of them remaining. After we reach our debt ceiling in February the 15th, then by March the 27th, March the 30th, 31st, whatever the number is, last of March, we will have 2 absolutes that they've got to deal with. One, if they do nothing, we get a $1.2 trillion spending cut. Period. Half of it out of defense, half of it out of other discretionary programs. Not a good way to do it, folks. Not a good way to do it. But if I were there and that was the only way we could do it and there was no compromise possible, do it. The best way would be on the continuing resolution when we agree on what is going to happen with spending for the rest of the year. Work out a budget. For the first time in 4 years, Senator Reid, get a budget out of your Senate and get it out so that you can conference with the House and work out a compromise with the House that you can bring to the President on a budget. The President doesn't have anything to do with that. He didn't sign that. But just agree on how you're going to cut spending and meet the needs of our country. That's where the Farm Bill comes in. We always, when I was on the Ag Committee, we always said to the Budget Committee, just tell us a number. Give us a number that we can deal with. Tell us how much we can spend, and we won't spend 1 penny more, and we won't spend 1 penny less. We will do that which we need to do in order to provide for the future abundance of food, feed, fuel, and fiber in the United States. That's what the Ag Committee is for. Okay, I've made recommendations for the last 5 Congresses that ignore it. It started when I was still in Congress. One of the mistakes this year, it is a doozy this year. Congress was sworn in on January the 3rd. Why didn't the House Agriculture Committee and the Senate Ag Committee sit down on January the 4th and go to work? Decide which of the programs that come in agriculture that we can do without, what we can reduce the spending on, and those that are the most important. Those things that we really and truly, you as businessmen and women, would look at this in a strict business way in a budget and say, this is something we need to do, this is something we really don't need to do. And I think all of you know, there are so many programs in government, and we're only talking about agriculture now, just agriculture, that most members of Congress don't even know what they are and what they do and whether they're doing any good or not, because we never ever do the oversight that needs to be done, because we're never in Congress working. So I suggested early on that Congress ought to go to work on January the 4th and work 8 till. First time I suggested it about 4 years ago in Idaho, I said 8 to 5. Got corrected real quick by some businessman in this audience said, we don't work 8 to 5, we work 8 till we get the job done. So work 8 till, 5 days a week, work weekends until, work for a couple of weeks. 8 till, weekends till, then go home for a week. Cut out this 3-day work week. You know, it's embarrassing when you have to defend as a member of Congress that you only work 3 days a week, that you're only going to be in session in the first 6 months, 46 days. How are you going to deal in a responsible way with writing a farm bill or writing any kind of a bill unless you are there actually doing the work and taking it? Now, if you like this idea, contact your congressman or woman and suggest that they do a little better job with their work habits. Even the one that you love that you elected. You know, you look like a very normal audience, and that means that you are in that 92% that don't think too much of Congress, and you're blaming Congress. And knowing my agricultural audiences, I'm a minority in this audience today, being a Democrat. I haven't got many fellow Democrats in this audience. I just believe that. Proven wrong, but I'm not going to take show hands on this one, because I just happen to know that I'm in a minority. So, you don't blame the president, blame the president. You heard me, I'll give equal blame on all three in this endeavor. But blame doesn't get it done. If you're really concerned about what Congress is doing or not doing, when you woke up in this beautiful hotel this morning, walked into the bathroom, looked in the mirror, you saw the problem. We are a divided nation, 50-50 on just about every issue you want. And we got some doozies out there. Do we now have gun control? And we've got entitlements and Social Security and Medicare. And then in the farm bill, the reason we didn't get a farm bill is because our Republican colleagues wanted to cut the SNAPS program more than the Democrats wanted to. But the Speaker and the leadership knew they didn't have the votes to do it on the House floor without Democrats. Now that bothers me. As a Democrat that never worried about voting with Republicans on issues that I agreed with and the people back home agreed with, why do we suddenly worry that unless you can vote with a majority of your party, you shouldn't be compromising with the other side? Why? Compromise is not a four-letter word. How many of you have seen the movie Lincoln? If you haven't, go see it. Beautiful movie. Lincoln was a masterful politician. Another not four-letter word. Quit making, I'm sorry that we politicians make us a four-letter word. I'm proud that I was once a politician. I'm proud that I was a past politician. I was a bureaucrat. That's what I was. Why apologize for it? That's our system of government. How do you get farm bills? By compromising on issues that you feel strongly about. How many times, I represented a rural district in Texas, how many times would I have someone in a town hall meeting say, Charlie, just get those food stamps out of the farm bill. They got no business being in the farm bill. And I'd say, yep, get rid of the food stamps, you got no farm bill. Period. What are you talking about? Nutrition is about 80% of the farm bill. All 310 million Americans are affected by the nutrition. The parts that affect Title I, the subsidies, which are gone, and I spent my whole political career defending subsidies. I was a cotton farmer. My son's a cotton farmer. Wheat grower. Peanuts, my district. You name it. We defended subsidies. I did it with a clear conscience. The only reason, and the only way I could, is in order to provide a level playing field in the world market for our producers. We had to be in a level playing field. Now, the rest of the world is eliminating subsidies even faster than we are. It's time for us to move on. In this farm bill this year, I hope we will get a good insurance program, i.e. one that will work in all parts of the country, that will allow a producer in a very high-risk business, risk from the standpoint of weather, which I enjoyed the session this morning on the weather downstairs, but the variables that can just literally destroy you. And I represent, did some work with the National Meat Association, the new merged one too, and also with the Livestock Marketing Association. We all say we believe that in the marketplace, but there is a place for insurance in almost every marketplace. Almost every one that I know. I don't know whether you're talking about it in your industry or not, or whether it's you're capable, or I can't know you're capable, able to have insurance, or whether it's even needed. But in the case of the Livestock Marketing Association, it's needed because many times you get a buyer or a seller that suddenly can't pay you for the cattle that's already moved through your market. Bingo, you're bankrupt because he was bankrupt. We've had some big ones circling around the country this year. That's going to be a lot of the discussion that's going to be going into the next farm morning. What about CRP? My prediction on CRP, we're going to continue to see land that should never have gone into CRP come out. And only that highly erodible land that should be in the CRP that has not only a conservation use but also a wildlife benefit, you're going to see it stay in, but you're going to see more of the land come out that should never have gone in. We all know we had too much that went in, but we were using that for a supply management tool at the time because we were producing more in the United States than we could sell. Therefore, you did everything you could to reduce the production. It's called supply and demand. It's what you do in your business. The only difference between you and farmers in 50 states is pretty hard for everybody to make the right decision in these endeavors. So we had government programs to help us do that. So, what are some of the other issues that are going to be having a key role? Budget is going